There is, as I look out of my commentary box window, a very large and very excited crowd here today, eagerly anticipating another memorable race. Lewis Hamilton took his maiden win on this circuit in 2007. Jenson Button came from last place to win here in 2011, and there's certainly no shortage of drama on offer here at the Canadian Grand Prix. If you want flat-out racing, you've come to the right place this weekend, as it's full throttle for 59% of this 2.7-mile circuit, peaking at around 210 miles per hour going into the final chicane. But that speed requires discipline, and there are more than a few close walls here, just waiting to punish drivers with a heavy right foot. Joining me on this very wet day is a man who's no stranger to driving in miserable conditions. Anthony Davidson, you've driven open cockpit, you've driven sports cars. How does the wet weather experience change between the different disciplines?
Well, I wouldn't say there's much difference in all honesty. You know, besides the terrifying closing speeds you find in sports cars with the different categories all sharing the same track, driving in the rain is, well, driving in the rain. Of course, the biggest difference between the two is the closed cockpit versus the open cockpit. You get the luxury of staying dry in the sports car, but if your screen ever gets dirty, well, that's a pit stop, not just wiping your visor or pulling away a tear off. But most of the time, you know, they're both as miserable as each other, to be honest.
We're almost ready to go then, and this is what the starting grid looks like for today's race. Valtteri Bottas lines up on pole position, and Lewis Hamilton completes the front row. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Raikkonen, Vettel, Sergio Perez, and a Red Bull, Ocon, Ricciardo, Hülkenberg, and Kevin Magnussen. Sainz, Kvyat, Jolyon Palmer, and Massa, Alonso, Stroll, Stoffel Van Dorn, and Pascal Wehrlein. Ericsson and Roman Grosjean starts from the back of the grid. Now it's almost time to lights out, so let's go down to the track.
Okay, the run into turn 1 isn't too long, so the pack will be bunched up. Take. Position, front of the pack. Hamilton is behind you. The gap to the car behind is 1.6 seconds. They're on fresh wets. Look after these tyres now. We want to finish the race on this compound. 4 laps remaining. The heavy rain will pass in about 5 minutes. We'll then be working with light rain conditions. You've been awarded a time penalty for that last incident. Softer on the brakes, we might run into problems. You're leading the pack. P1, Hamilton behind. The gap behind us is 10.1 seconds. They're on fresh wets. Pit strategy complete. See these tyres through to the end now. 2 laps left. Next time by will be your final lap. So the gap to our teammate is 14.6 seconds. Position, front of the pack. Hamilton is behind you. Okay, the gap behind is 11.8 seconds. They're on fresh wets. This is your final lap of the race. The fastest lap of the race so far is a 1:27.8. This is your final lap of the race. P7 right now. The gap is 20.2 seconds. They're on fresh wets. The time last lap was a 1:33.2. This is your final lap of the race. Sat in P6, 6th place. Okay, distance to teammate, 21.2 seconds. They're on fresh wets. The time last lap was a 1:32.9. Our gap behind is 16.0 seconds. Great job, you've done everything we wanted today.
So another fantastic victory for Red Bull today. And I have to wonder, Anthony Davidson, just what set them apart from the competition here.
Well, they clearly have a car that comes alive in the kind of conditions we were dealing with today. It's a very balanced package in the wet, and what that means is that the drivers have confidence to attack. And having that confidence gets you on the power earlier, it lets you brake later, and can put you a long way up the road.
And I can see now the drivers are making their way out. We need Red Bull fighting at the front. They do an incredible amount for Formula One. And that's another winner's trophy heading back to Milton Keynes. And now let's take a look at the driver's standings. Our current points leader extends their lead at the top of the championship after a very good result here today. Moving on to the driver of the day then. Anthony Davidson, who would you go for?
For me, the Red Bull driver was the class of the field today. They pushed and found some fantastic performance. It was just a pleasure to watch.
And here's how things are shaping up in the Constructors' Championship. Red Bull have extended their lead over the championship. That's it for today's Grand Prix, and from Ant and I, it's goodbye, and see you again next time.